Soft Pigeons. Today is March 30th, 2024. I'll let these young birds out. So I officially moved all my breeders, all the prisoners that are in here. So now it's just pretty much focusing on the young birds. So one of the main things I want to talk about today is kind of the importance of training your first rounders. After that, any later babies are pretty much self-taught and you don't have to do anything with them. Most important thing is making sure you wean them over at the right age. You don't want them to be too strong on the wing and you don't want them to be too old. Kind of want them to still kind of hang out on the floor, because with experience and age, how it works is when you first wean them over, they're more likely sleep and hang out around the floor until they get more comfortable. Then they'll slowly work their way up the perches. As you see, all these are the ones from the second round with the white bands. So these are the white team down here. So it's kind of that top perch mentality. You don't get to earn that but you don't get at the top perch until you earn it. So these guys are all white bands. They're kind of the lower end. If you're kind of the top perch pigeon, you get to claim all the ones on top. Ideally, the higher you are, the more dominant you are in the loft. So what's just gonna happen is I'm not gonna worry about these guys coming out, because most likely they're not gonna want to go out. They're a little bit too scared, too skittish. Even for being in here just for a couple days. I believe this is only their second day that they've been in here. They're not gonna want to fly out. They're gonna kind of hang out around the loft. If anything, they'll fly up to the perches, the ones that are strong enough to get up there, but they're not gonna want to fly out to the top aviary trap yet. There's a few that will, but those guys are more likely to just hang around the roof of the loft and not take off with the first rounders. And eventually what they're gonna do is they're gonna notice the first rounders flying up, and instinctively they're gonna get attracted to fly up in the air too. You'll kind of see them start flapping around, kind of get used to their wings, and naturally they're gonna get pulled up with the first rounders. But by that time, your babies are more than settled and they understand what they gotta do. So as long as your first rounders are all trap trained and already loft trained, your first rounders are gonna be perfect for just training these second rounders. So these older birds, they're gonna do their laps, they're gonna do their grouping once they get used to that. So these guys are like first half of the first rounders are interested in flying and kind of doing small groups. Some of these guys, the second half, are still not all about that shooting out and flying yet. What's up, dude? Okay, I will. Yeah, why don't you feed your bird? So these guys are flying. Naturally, your first rounders will be the first group. So what's gonna happen is these second rounders, see how they don't really know the ropes yet. They'll just kind of hang out on the floor, up on the perch. They'll naturally get attracted to get pulled up to the top aviary, but they're not gonna want to fly around. If anything, they'll do like a little small lap, fly up in the air and land back down. But all these in here should be white band, part of the white team. Once they understand what they got to do, they'll start pulling out just as the same as the red team. But these guys are too young and they don't feel confident enough yet to be going up on the roof and start making flights. But as the days and weeks goes by, they're naturally gonna hop from the floor up to the perch, up to the aviary, the trapped in aviary up here, settling cage, whatever you want to call it. And then once they get comfortable, they're gonna get used to that shooting out. That shootout means they know when you open the trap door, and the first thing they're gonna do is they want to fly. They want to come out to the opening and shoot out to the sky as soon as possible. It's almost like they'll fly right over your head. That's part of the whole. Feeding Brownick? Okay, just give him a little, okay? But as I was saying, these guys I don't have to feel nervous about. I don't have to worry about the same thing as when they compare to the first rounders. First round, the things we got, the variables we gotta look at is, it's usually early breeding. A lot of times it's early breeding, and if we have snow still, it's kind of hard to get them out offline or have them time to settle in up on the roof and using the trap. The thing you want to kind of fear of is your first rounders being too strong on the wing, and therefore the first time out they're flying out too far and the weather are not ideal. That's where you lose your birds. But all these guys, they had it pretty easy this winter. We didn't have much snow, so we were able to settle them in and get them trained up pretty quick. Second rounders, you don't have to do anything. Just leave them in there. You don't have to worry about them coming in and out, because they're not going to go far. And they'll be usually the first ones to get their feed because they're always in the loft. No need to push these guys out. Maybe a week or two down the road, you should be able to even flag them if you really want to, but naturally every time you open, they're gonna go up on the roof themselves. So after a good week or two, these guys they'll be joining these first rounders pretty quick up in the sky. So that's why I believe every year when you start up a new young bird team, the first rounders is the most important team that you got to train. Once you get those guys all trained up, everybody else after that is pretty much self-taught, and you don't have to do anything with them besides the hawk attacks. Other than that, everything is a self-taught system. They learn from the older birds, and you don't have to do anything more than you have to. These second rounders are easier to settle compared to the first rounders. But that's just my take, my little system. Things I've done over the years where it seemed to work just fine. Just making sure you establish those first rounders. And after that, everybody else is just tossing the loft when you got new babies to wean over. And then they'll just naturally put themselves in the flock. So, let these birds fly for a little bit, hang out all day. It's pretty nice out, high 40s. And I'll throw some feed in for the babies.